college football is such a tradition-heavy sport, and people buy into the traditions. We think about jump around and Enter Sandman and running down the hill and planting the spear and Miami running through the small, all the things, right? You familiar with Florida State's sod cemetery, where when they're an underdog on the road, they cut up a piece of sod, also against rivals and in bowl games, they cut up a piece of sod when they win as an underdog or in a bowl game or rivalry, and they plant that sod back in their sod cemetery. Clemson adopted something similar because nobody in this world is original ever. But Florida State is an underdog on the road at Duke this week, which we could have a million conversations.
In football?
Yes, in football. Florida State an underdog. And my take is, Jake, I do not care about the tradition. I don't necessarily think that Mike Norvell should come out and say, this is not a sod game. We don't respect that. But I do think after the game, should Florida State go on the road and win on Friday night against Duke, I think that they should say, no, we have a different standard here. We are not taking a piece of sod back from Wallace Wade Stadium and putting it in our sod cemetery. And people disagree with that. Some of the traditionalists, no, we need to honor tradition. This is what we do. And my answer is, what about the tradition of not ever losing to Duke, being 22-0? What about the tradition of not being 1-5? What about the tradition of dominating teams, bottom feeders, no offense to Duke and Manny Diaz? What about that tradition? So anyway, I want to hear your take on that, and then I'll let you roll.
Yeah, well, first off, we're going to talk about traditions. Y'all got, the war chant back? Is that back now or whatever?
Officially. Yeah.
Yeah, well, whoever made that decision should be, I'm not
Plant them in the sod cemetery.
Yeah, they should be exiled from Tallahassee, in my opinion. I don't think they should ever be allowed back in the city. We got to start going back to some medieval things, but that's a story for another day. As far as the sod thing, let me ask you this. Do y'all show recruits that?
It's right outside the practice facility, literally next to Doak Campbell Stadium, yes.
Yeah,
and I'll say this.
Recruits that. I don't want the recruits to know last year we were underdogs to do. No.
On home weekends, so obviously there are pieces of sod in there from winning in the Big House and in the shoe.
At
LSU. Sure. When we play Florida at home at the last weekend of the year this year, every piece of sod that happened that is in there from beating Florida, they don't take it up, but they put like a little, like when you go to a cemetery and they put flowers on it. They put flowers on every single time that you've beaten Florida in a bowl, in away, wherever, neutral site, whatever. They put that on the marker that's in the cemetery when you play. Imagine in a year or two when Duke comes to town having a little marker there because you beat Duke on the road in a game. In a year, you won 3 games. That's embarrassing to me.
You got two options, I think. One is that you say, no, we're not going to do the sod because we don't want recruits to see we're underdogs to Duke. And then you can say by the time right before kickoff, it was a pick'em, right? And then they can go back and look through all the sports books. They're not, but say it was a pick'em, so we're not technically the underdog. Or second option, you do the sod thing, but you tell the recruits it was a basketball game. Those are your two options.
Go get a piece of the hardwood off of
Yeah, dude, we beat Duke on the road by 2 in basketball, guys. All right, here we go. Move on. Who wants lunch?
Yeah, go get some Guthries.
Yeah.
Jake, where can people watch your show, follow you, find you on X, all those things?
Oh, yeah, it's really easy, man. If you watch, we're on YouTube. It's Crain & Company, Crain & Company, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that stuff. We get into the nitty-gritty, man. We have a good time. We take live calls. We go live from 2 to 3:30 p.m. Central, which is 3 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm getting really good at learning time zones, TJ. that daggum mountain time, though. It's a sneaky moth. So, but no, come check us out. You like this show, you like ours.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you a ton for hanging out.
Of course, dude.